After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
Greetings, sir. This may concern. Christian Aguilar here, back with another movie review. And in today's movie review, I'm going to be reviewing the new Matrix movie, The Matrix Resurrections. The film stars Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Neil Patrick Harris, Jessica Henwick, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Jonathan Groff, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, and Jada Pinkett Smith. And the film picks up years after the events of the first Matrix trilogy, as we see Neo back as Mr. Anderson within the Matrix, and now he currently struggles to figure out whether or not his reality is a physical or mental construct. Everything that happened to Neo comes off as a nightmare, so it's up to him once again to figure out what is reality and what is just a construct of the Matrix. Now, before I get any further into my review, I will tell you this is a spoiler-free review. I will not be saying or mentioning anything of importance or big what the hell moments or any reveals. I will save that for when you experience the film on your own. However, I'm just going to be giving my first reactions, first opinions on the movie after seeing it in theaters. Yes, I did go out and see this in theaters with my parents, so we wanted to go out and do a little outing of it. So we went to go see The Matrix today, and we were very entertained. I must say, we had a fun time with this movie. I had a fun time with this movie, which I'm really surprised to see all these negative reviews on the internet. Like, people are pretty much bashing this film all throughout. People have said that it has no purpose, that the writers have ran out of things to write about, and that there's really no direction, that they were doing too much in too little time. And I can see the complaints. You know, I can see why people don't really like it. There was a lot of world building exposition, a lot of things that are really kind of difficult to wrap your head around on the first viewing. I myself want to go back and rewatch this again and again, because I know I'm going to pick up on things I didn't pick up on the first time around. And that's the beauty of having it on HBO Max. You know, I don't have to go back out and go to the theater and wait for them to open up to really rewatch this film. I can sit here in the comfort of my home at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and rewatch this movie that I just saw in theaters as many times as I'd like. And I think that's one of the many perks about having a movie that's in theaters and also streaming at home. But yes, I feel like this film is one you have to rewatch in order to pick up on things fully or to really understand certain things. It's really interesting to see this universe many years down the line. I won't say specifically how many years, but some time has passed since the first trilogy, and it's very interesting to see the movie kind of delve into that world. And we see Jada Pinkett Smith's character, Niobe, in a very interesting way, and it just makes me curious about the real world beyond that, you know, and I really want to see what comes of her character and everything that surrounds her character in future movies. They bring up a lot of ideas that turn the Matrix itself on its head, certain things that we wouldn't expect to happen. And there's some new additions that I admire. However, there's others that don't really sit well with me. Specifically with Yahya Abdul-Mateen's Morpheus in this movie. When we get an explanation of his character, I've heard a handful of theories, and those theories are so good that the actual explanation in the movie was quite disappointing, in my opinion. To me, it was quite disappointing to figure out who he is as a character, where his character comes from. I don't know, I just felt like this character could have been someone very interesting. However, it was just resorted to, dare I say, like a side character. It just felt like he was resorted way more to a side character by the halfway point of this movie. I did love the meta-ism in the first half of this movie. The way the movie begins, recreating the opening scene from the first Matrix movie, was just pretty badass to see. I know a lot of people would be thrown off by this. They would have a lot of complaints to throw at this, like, oh, you're just rehashing the first movie and there's nothing original about this. But The Matrix brings this up. This movie brings up the fact that, yeah, this is all being done before, but things are different this time around. That's a huge theme that this movie follows, and I think it follows it pretty well. And I love how we break the fourth wall, and there was a little moment in the beginning where it went really meta, and I thought, wow, are they going to keep this up throughout the movie? Sadly, it really doesn't. Once, and minor spoilers, but I guess everyone can predict this, once Neo unplugs from the Matrix, all the metanism kind of leaves the movie, and it just goes into all these big epic themes about the world beyond, you know? I think a lot of this movie spends time with ideas and concepts that, one, have been discussed in the Matrix trilogy, more specifically their sequels, Reloaded and Revelations. And I don't think a lot of people have sat down and watched the trilogy before watching this new one. So when they're referencing back certain things, yeah, they have little clips from the movies, which I do like how they use those. But there's certain things I believe they talk about that were only referenced in the sequels, and I doubt that a lot of people that have seen this movie rewatch the sequels in preparation. There's your fans out there that have done that, but I think a lot of other people didn't really do that. And I think they're setting up a lot of themes and concepts that will be explored upon in the sequels. I went into this knowing very well that this was going to be a start of possibly a new trilogy, or maybe even a duology. Either way, I knew this was going to be a setup for a sequel. And I think people were expecting a bunch of action and fighting and kung fu and gun violence. It has its fair share of fun action. However, I think they're really building up to the big fights. There are going to be way more fights to come. And if we know anything with trilogies, let's look at Lord of the Rings. The first movie sure had its fair share of fights. However, there was a lot of world building that happened and a lot of sit down dialogue scenes, just like in this Resurrections movie. And it's not until we get to the second movie and third movie that we get the big battle sequences. Those scenes will be coming, I believe, in the future, in these sequels. We're just getting a taste of it in this first movie right now. Resurrections lays out the groundwork for what's to come. And I think that's one thing that really harmed this film, and that a lot of people are having trouble wrap their heads around, and they're just chalking up to lazy writing, directionless writing, and they don't know where to go besides working with nostalgia and banking off of that. Resurrections is very much aware that it's a reboot of an existing franchise, and again, I love how they play with that in the beginning, the first half. And I believe that might come back in the sequels. Again, I just think they're giving us little samples, little taste tests of all these different ideas and themes. Then they're going to bring them all back in the sequels. I think that's what they're doing here. Performances are really top notch. I love Jessica Henwick's Bugs. I love that character. She's definitely one of the great additions to the Matrix universe. I hope they expand more on the other side characters. A lot of the runtime wasn't focused on any of the crew members. Something similar in the Matrix there. We didn't spend much time with them. However, I do hope that they get more screen time in the sequels. I will say that, you know, if you watch the first movie or if you watch the trilogy, the lack of Lawrence Fishburne and Hugo Weaving, very much apparent. I don't know if it was for you, but it was for me going in. I'm just like, I hope these guys show up some way, somehow, maybe at the very end, a little tease or something, but no, they don't show up at all. So if you're expecting them, don't expect them going in. I will tell you that right now. That's not really much of a spoiler. But if you just came off of watching the first one, then you're watching this one, I mean, I'm telling you, those presents are lost. They really are. However, they have two new great actors that gives their new iterations to these characters. And I really hope they build up more for Mateen's Morpheus, because Jonathan Groff's Agent Smith is just, wow. I mean, he was probably one of the most interesting characters in this film, and I cannot wait to see what they do with his character moving forward into the sequels. The dynamic between Trinity and Neo are very much apparent, just like it was in the first trilogy. That's something that's going to be throughout this entire franchise, I believe. But it's very interesting what the movie does with this dynamic, with their relationship, and the roles that they play overall in this universe. They mix some things up with these two characters, and I'm really interested to hear what other people think, what's going to happen moving forward. I have my opinions, but if I say what I think, it might just spoil the movie. So, with all that being said, I'm going to have to give The Matrix a solid 4 out of 5 Skarsgårds. Yes, 4 out of 5. It is not bad. It's not a bad movie whatsoever. Nor is it saturated with cheap throwbacks and cheap nostalgia. Don't listen to anyone that says, oh, this is just full of cheap references. It's self-aware. It knows what it's doing, and I think it does it really, really well. So yes, 4 out of 5. Not bad at all. I enjoyed myself. What did you think of The Matrix Resurrections? Have you seen it? Have you not? Let me know down below. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for reaching to the end of it. I hope you're all safe and well out there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.